we're going to keep up our discussion today having to do with graphing these linear equations that we've been looking at. Today we're specifically going to take a look at how to graph them by using their intercepts. Now, we talked a little bit about intercepts in our first and second units. And now we're going to come back to them and use them both graphically and if we're just given a linear equation. So this stuff up here just says x and y intercepts. The point at which the line intersects the x-axis is called the x-intercept. So I got my x-intercept down here. The point at which the line intersects the y-axis, I'll actually highlight these in different colors. Y-intercept is where we cross the y-axis. And I think that's a pretty familiar concept for most of us. And then it says we've got the examples of those two to the right, which we know. The way that we're actually going to find these intercepts, first of all, it says finding intercepts algebraically. So to find the x-intercept of an equation, the way I'm going to do that, if I look over here, something you want to know about this, well, each of these really, is what the coordinate points of each of those are. So like my coordinates here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 0. That's what my x-intercept is. My y-intercept, on the other hand, is 0, and then 2, 4, 6, 8. And that's going to kind of lead us to how we're going to find intercepts algebraically. Because in order to find the x-intercept of an equation, I'm going to set y equal to 0. And solve for x. The reason I pointed out what these coordinates are is because notice that the coordinate of the x-intercept, the y value is 0. So that's why I'm going to do that. And then kind of similar to that, in order to find the y-intercept of an equation, I'm going to set my x equal to 0 and solve for y. So for example, they gave me down here, find the x and y intercept of the equation y equals 3x plus 6. Okay, so I'm going to kind of split this into two separate things. My x-intercept and my y-intercept. I'm going to write it in a different color. Now, if I'm going by what we said up here, in order to find my x-intercept, I'm going to set y equal to 0. Okay, so my y here is what I start with. 0 equals 3x plus 6. And now I'm just going to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. Hopefully you have a little bit more room than I do. And then I'm going to divide by 3. And then I'm going to be left with x equals negative 2. And that's it. That's my x-intercept right there. X equals negative 2. Second thing here, my y-intercept, I'm going to go by what we set up here. We said, okay, if I'm finding my y-intercept, I'm going to set my x equal to 0. Now this one's a little bit easier for us, at least in this specific case, because now I'm going to say y equals 3 times 0, because remember, I want my x to equal 0 when I'm crossing the y-axis, plus 6. But when I multiply anything by 0, this becomes a 0. So then my y-intercept just becomes y equals 6. And that's really all I'm doing for all of those. I'm not really going to go through a lot of those examples. I'll let you guys do that on your own. But let's flip to the next page, because now we want to take a look at how this plays out graphically. So it says find the y, so I'm looking at numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10. So it says right there, find the x and y intercept of each equation and graph the equation using the intercepts. The way that I'm doing that is because those two points are going to be points on the line that we're graphing here. So I don't really have to, all I have to do here is do the exact same thing that I did in that first example problem that I showed you. I want to find my x-intercept. So in order to do that, remember, if I'm looking for x, I substitute 0 in for y. So I'm going to say x plus 0 equals 3, so x equals 3. So I'm going to plot that. Oops. The smartboard does some crazy things, so that should be at 3. It's not really cooperating with me, but that's okay. Okay, now I want to find my y-intercept. Again, I'm going opposite. If I'm looking for the y-intercept, I put 0 in for x. This one's kind of funky because I'm getting x and y are both 3 as the intercepts. But remember, if x equals 3, I'm going to my x-axis to plot that. When y equals 3, I'm going to my y-axis to plot that. So that's where my x-intercept, the blue one's where my y-intercept falls. And then my graph is, I'm just connecting those dots. And that's it. So that's pretty much the same as what you did before on that previous page. We're just adding that little bit of extra step of putting the graph in there.